Diapers on a plane.
All right, what I learned being stranded on the freeway in Panama for 5 hours was you can never bring too many snacks for children.
This is what I learned at being in Panama on the side of the road. To look out for potholes. This is what I learned for being on the side of the road in Panama for 5 hours. I learned that it was not fun sitting in a car for 5 hours. This is what I learned in Panama, sitting in the car for 5 hours.
See, breakdown in Panama. Dun dun dun. Dun dun dun.
I learned that the word for pothole in Spanish is bancha. Watch out for the banchas. They'll get you. Okay, welcome to episode number 25 of Diapers on a Plane. This is a special
Bonus
episode.
Bonus edition.
Yeah, it's coming at you like a flat tire from a pothole in Panama, pretty much, because that's what this episode's about.
Are you ready to learn about what happens when you get not one,
But two, dos flats.
dos blowouts
Yeah.
on the Panamanian freeway
Late at night, in the dark, while it's raining.
when in a country that has no roadside assistance?
Yes. So let's get started.
How much fun does that sound? We'll give you a second to think about how much fun that sounds.
Mull it over. Think about it. Okay, first of all, before we get started, I want to give an apology for the last episode. The wind was cray-cray. Hopefully this is a little bit better. Phil's calmer, so hopefully when I edit it, it's better. And the editing was lackluster.
Yeah, he kept seeing this. He somehow didn't see the same picture being put in there about 20 times.
I'm going to explain why I was kind of exhausted while I edited it last little bit.
All right, so what did we do? We had an amazing day on Wednesday. It was absolutely phenomenal. We went up to El Val de Anton, which let's have somebody else say that.
Val de Anton.
There we go. And it was beautiful. It is a extinct volcano here in Panama, and inside the massive crater, this volcano is literally huge. They have all sorts of things to do, but we are going to talk about that next week when we have our week 2 episode of What in Panama. But it's about a 2-hour drive.
It's about a 2-hour drive. So the important thing is we had a wonderful day. We'll talk all about it, but we were coming back that evening.
Yeah, and we were scheduled to be home about 6:30, 6:45, and at about 6:20, just real quick, we have been married for a long time.
Muchos años.
And never had a flat tire.
Yeah, never.
Never.
Well, never had a flat on the freeway. I think we've had a couple flats.
I think maybe one that I can
really, even
possibly remember in a really, really kind of crummy car.
Even nails are slow flat. Like we haven't really ever had flats. It's new to us.
Yeah, and I've never had one personally when I've been driving, ever, and I've been driving for a while.
So anyway,
we're slated to be home about 6:30. It's at 6:20, and it's dark by now.
well, it's dark and it's raining, right? So,
Yeah.
So the visibility isn't super awesome. We're going on the freeway. Usually the speed limit here is 100 kilometers per hour.
And I was actually
kilometers per hour.
I was actually doing Insta stories, which I'm always on the fence about. Like, are they worth time or not? But sometimes they're fun to look back.
And I think I was driving about 60 on the Autopista, which is the freeway here. And it was about medium busy. Traffic gets really busy here, but people are just zipping along. Mm-hmm. And just out of nowhere, I hit this epic pothole.
Well, see, here's the deal. It's not very easy to avoid potholes here, first of all, because they're everywhere. And secondly, like you said, traffic is quite insane. And you've got cars that don't even stay in the lane. They drive on the shoulder of the road. They switch lanes whenever they feel like. You've got buses that stop in the middle of the freeway to let people off near exits. So avoiding potholes is not simple. They're not wide lanes. They're very narrow lanes that are about the size of a car. So it's not like you can just I see a pothole, I'll just swerve around, or I'll come into this lane, or I'll, do whatever. If there's a pothole, you're about to hit it.
Pothole. Yeah, so I hit one, and I wasn't even going that fast. It was just I don't know if it was the rain had made it bigger or something, but it was an epic pothole right in the freeway. I wasn't on the edge or anything. And immediately I felt that the tire was flat.
And I just heard this kind of, I don't know that it was a bang, but like, you know, when you're not driving on a rubber tire anymore, it doesn't sound right. So we pulled over and we could see that the front passenger wheel was flat.
It was flat. And so, you know, not a huge deal, right? It's like minor inconvenience. I put the spare on and we get going. So Widmore and I and Catherine got out. It's just drizzling rain and I changed it. Luckily we had like a full-size spare. All the jacks, everything we needed were there. To put it into perspective, we're renting a car from the owner of the home we're staying at. And so it wasn't through a rental company.
Yeah, so a couple things to note here is, yes, the car was a 7-capacity vehicle. So it was a larger car, like a mid-size SUV. Would that be accurate?
Sure.
And the home we were renting, we also rented the car. So it's not a standard rental agreement. It's not a standard rental company.
It was almost like a handshake deal. But we were told that we had full coverage. Anything that happens, you're covered. We're taken care of.
Right.
But in this case, I didn't think I needed to call anyone because we could use the spare. We could get home.
You know how to change a flat tire.
Yeah, so we changed the flat tire. It was a full size. All the other tires looked fine.
Yeah. And we get back on the road.
And we'll get back on the road.
So I text the person who we're renting the car from, you know, out of a courtesy, let her know what happened, let her know, you know, we wanted to go see about how to go about fixing it, you know, and the main thing was just if we're renting somebody else's vehicle, you know, especially if I was just thinking if I'm renting out my own vehicle, I would want some say in what happens next, right? So I texted her and let her know what had happened. And she let us know that she has a guy here she has a guy here and he helps with all of these types of issues. So so I say, okay, I'll get the number from the house guide when we get back. And we're on our way. So we've got about 15 minutes left. We're eager to get home. It's
pretty
late.
Close to home, luckily. And then a few minutes into driving, I can feel that something's not right. I've got another flat tire.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So here we pull over and we are like kind of in this fieldish type thing.
Yeah, I found a place to park that was kind of like an open driveway of some like business in the backs of houses. So
and we're right by San Francisco, Panama.
Yeah, and look at that tire. That tire is shot. Like it had blown.
It had
like,
several holes in it.
Had a chunk out of it.
Yeah,
right? It was shot.
Several
so I'm
chunks.
Like, great. So we don't have another spare. Obviously, we're toast, and so Catherine starts texting the homeowner, car owner, and she's surprised. She starts telling us that she's had the tires checked, which I have no doubt that she has. This is just a freak accident, right?
Yeah, I mean, you hit these giant potholes.
And that she's getting in touch with her guy as well as someone else she knows to get us some help because we're stranded at that point, right? It's pitch black. One thing we found out pretty quickly, looking more into it, is that there is no such thing as roadside assistance after dark.
Yeah, so it's 7:30 at this point. She finds the number for her guy, and we send him a message.
Yeah, we message him, and then
we kind of sit tight
and
and wait.
We wait for another half hour to an hour. It was a long time.
We waited a full hour, and then we hadn't heard back from her. We hadn't heard back from him. We sent several messages. We hadn't heard anything. We kind of realized at that point
we're
on our own.
Yeah, so we're stranded in Panama. What?
So we call our insurance, who we did do our due diligence and call prior to coming to Panama, and we're told that we had coverage.
So we have roadside assistance, but Geico, who we go through, does not offer roadside assistance at this time in any other country than the United States. So we had some renter's insurance, which is great for a rental car, but no roadside assistance. Plus, the owner of the house had told us she was fully covered. Not to worry. She kept telling us, "Don't worry about a thing."
Yeah. The problem with that though is what?
That it's not true.
Well, it's just we didn't hear a single thing.
Yeah.
Like,
So she never.
We were high. We were
that was the
left
last,
high and dry.
Yeah. Honestly, that was the last we heard from her.
Yeah.
She kind of, I think. Okay, I'm not going to besmirch anybody. I'm sure anyone here might have opinions and possibly say that, your pothole, your responsibility. Sure. But the fact is that we were told that we would get help. Anyway, we were left high and dry.
I think it's also really important to note that if you're thinking about traveling to Panama, Central America, Mexico, those are the countries we've been to in Central America. these are the driving conditions. The driving conditions are not like they are in the United States of America. Roads are not maintained on a regular basis, and things like this pop up all the time. It's partly due to the weather. It's partly due to the way people drive here. It's partly due to the type of earth that is here, that is underneath the roads. There are a lot of reasons for it, but those are typical driving conditions. Roads aren't maintained, lots of potholes, lots of crazy drivers.
And the sun is going down in beautiful Panama, so we're going to try and get through this. So,
all right, so this
the roads
is just
are
typical.
The roads are not in this like the States. Potholes are crazy.
Yeah.
We've never had any issues, so we want to share some lessons we've learned and the things that will change.
Yes.
In the future.
Okay, so we wait an hour. Nobody calls us back. Not the car owner, not the guy, not anybody we know. So we start thinking, we've called our insurance, we've called, some options. We don't know what to do at this point.
And we don't know anyone here except
we went to church on Sunday.
We went to church on Sunday and happened to exchange numbers with
the most amazing, wonderful, kind, beautiful, incredibly amazing people.
So Fatima and Danielle, if you happen to hear this video, by some chance you find out that we do YouTube, you are simply amazing. So we sent a text out to Fatima. Actually, we called her.
Yeah, and this
she
was
said,
probably 2 hours in.
Yeah,
maybe.
2 hours in, we're sitting there. We call her instead of texting just because we thought it would be easier to explain.
And faster.
And of course, she answered the phone and says, "How are you doing? How can I help you?" And we're not doing good. We're standing on the road. We didn't know who to call. Is there any way you could help us? So a bunch of information was exchanged. We told her we had 2 flats. And she said, not to worry, we're on our way.
We're on our way. So
Yes.
they come out. I mean, fortunately, we weren't 2 hours away.
Yeah.
We were just about 15 minutes. But they came all the way out. They were so incredibly kind. Not only, so they were our roadside assistants.
Yeah.
So if there's any lesson to be learned, if you're a member of a church or an organization that has a worldwide membership, definitely attend that worldwide membership and make some connections there. Now, granted, we are members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and we very easily could have probably called the bishop there. That is.
Yep. And so, where were we? So they said they would come out. So we waited. It took a little while for them to find us. We were about 20 minutes away from where they were. Anyway, they came out. They see the tire that I had pulled off, and they're like, "Oh, the alloy rim actually had a little bent in it, and so that's why it went flat." But long story short, they took that tire, tried to go get it fixed. And then
The rim. Tried to get the rim fixed.
And then because they had a friend nearby that did tires, but they couldn't fix it. So they actually came back and took the tire that had been blown out, because the tire on the first wheel was still good with the bent rim, and they put that on the other one, and we were actually able to put that on and get home. So that took about an hour, all things considered. They drove behind us. It was so awesome. Made sure we were home, checked in with us. So wonderful. We're actually going to go have dinner with them tonight because they're amazing. To help repay them for their kindness. But they got us home, thank goodness. So now the problem was we had a car with a spare, and finally...
But fortunately, after all that, because of their help and because of their friend that they knew that was able to fix the one rim and put the tire from the first blowout onto the rim of the second blowout, we only were left with one flat tire.
One bad tire, right?
And it was only $8 off the side of the road to fix that.
Yeah, their friend charged $8. It was awesome.
It was incredible.
So we got it home. So the next day, we need to fix the car, right? So we finally get a hold of the owner's guy, and he tells us, "Oh, you just need to go buy a whole new set of rims."
And by the way, just to mention,
so full coverage doesn't mean full coverage.
We went from 6:30 p.m. till noon the next day, and we were still trying to get some information from the individuals who had rented us a car.
Once again, not trying to disparage the owner, but she wrote back and said, "Oh, I didn't hear from you. I just figured you figured it out."
Yeah.
Well,
in a country that
you figured right.
that she lived in, that she should know there's no roadside assistance at night.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. So we're a little.
We're getting over it. We're getting over it.
Okay.
I feel better. That's why I wanted to do the video after we'd kind of
had a resolution.
Had things taken care of. So from that point, once again, she stopped talking to us and just wanted us to deal with the guy who told us to go buy alloy wheels.
Who told us no? He told us we needed an entire new set of wheels.
Yeah, new set of wheels, which is the rims and tires.
If you are like me and you don't know how much that's going to cost.
And I said, okay, can we get the insurance information so we can have that covered? And he said, oh no, that won't be covered. They don't cover that.
So I would love to know in the comments whose fault you think this is. Is this just an accident? This is just normal conditions?
Albeit I feel guilty because I was driving, but I wasn't speeding. I was going at normal speed. I don't know what else I could have done to avoid that pothole. Or, honestly, I didn't 100% see it, so it could have been something that fell out of a truck or something. It was something in the middle of the road.
Leave a comment if you've driven in Central America and if, kind of what your thoughts are on it. We'd love to hear some different perspectives, just kind of round out, our experience.
So just to get on to it, I don't want it to get dark. I want to finish this up. But we're 15 minutes in. Bear with us.
So he went, so we're having this conversation with her guy. He wants us to drive it all the way up to Panama City, which from us is about 40 minutes.
As soon as I mentioned the insurance part, he said, well, I think I have a friend who can fix it. So since I won't buy since I'm asking about insurance to cover the rims, now they can fix the wheel, right? And so he tells me he has a friend in Panama City, which I understand he lives in Panama City, but that I needed to take the wheel to them with the tire off to get it fixed. And I asked do you have an estimate on how much that'll cost? And he said, we'll let you know when we fix it.
Yeah, so everything just started to compound.
Also that he said, if you don't want to bring it up, I'll come get it for $80, which an Uber is like 15 to 20 bucks.
Yeah.
There and back.
So everything was just kind of starting to compound with fees and everything.
So I've got a really good friend named Google. And so I started asking Google where the tire shops are with good reviews. And so yesterday morning, I took it up to a reputable tire shop who spoke zero English. So I've had a lot of Spanish learning experience. So he actually told me that he couldn't fix the rim there, but they have like a lot of people here, just like our homeowners guy in Panama, who specialize in fixing rims.
Yeah, so somebody knew a guy, somebody knew a guy, and in the end we have...
So it was actually a rim shop next door. He actually walked me over and pointed to it. For $3, he ripped the old tire off because rim shops don't do that. They just fix the rims. And I took it. I met an amazing, he came to be amazing, but a fellow named Steven at the rim shop, who told me that they could fix it no problem. It would be $60 and it would be ready the next day. Okay, so he said it would be $60. That's great. That's a lot cheaper than $80 just to have the rim delivered to somebody who would then let me know how much to pay. And he said it would be the next day. He wrote me a receipt, and true to that, gave me a call the next morning that the rim was ready. And so I went and picked it up and asked them if he could suggest anywhere to go get a tire. The place I went to earlier didn't have it. And Google has a lot. A lot of them were pretty far away, though. The highly rated... She's so cute. Did she just want to get over? So the highly rated tire shops are like pretty far away. And so I asked him if he knew of a place, and he said, yes, I know of a place. I'm like, can you tell me the name? And he said, no, I don't think he knew what the name was. But he said, I can come with you if you want. And I was like, fantastic, come with me. So he hopped in the car, and we drove up to this, he took me around to this tire shop he knew. It was a pretty low-key tire shop. But it was someone he had a relationship with. They had a tire. I didn't have enough cash on hand for it, and they didn't take Visa. And so the guy at that tire shop said, oh, Steven's a friend of mine. I know that you'll go to the ATM and bring it back. I was like, oh, cool. So it was $40 for a new tire. They put it on, and then Steven actually paid them the $40, and then I went to an ATM.
So not to
just
like...
met so many awesome people in this experience. And learned a lot of Spanish, too.
Not to sit and highlight how many times we have not had cash on us in inappropriate moments.
It just runs out.
But the last time we were in Mexico, we had the same issue where we had to pay somebody and a stranger came through and paid them for us.
Yeah, that was our GoPro story.
And relied on us to pay them back.
So here's
every time we have paid them back, we will say so. We did give Steven some extra Christmas money, which he was so appreciative of.
Yeah, I gave him some money, which he didn't even expect.
Yeah.
Like, I gave him some money. He's just like, oh, you serious? Merry Christmas. So here's a takeaway, too, from this horrible experience.
Did he say Merry Christmas or Feliz Navidad?
No, he said Merry Christmas. I said Feliz Navidad. It's just that South American people that we've encountered have been
So Christ-like, so loving.
amazing and helpful
Yeah.
and wonderful.
Just
and,
really, we could learn a lesson or two.
Yep. So there are good people out on the road, and so we got the tire on. The car is fixed. It's drivable. Even Fatima and Daniel were like, "Oh, you take that rental car back." so here's some lessons learned.
So I found a blog when I was looking through the next night. I was pretty upset about the situation. We did find a person who moved to Panama, and they were renting a car every month while they looked for a car to drive. And they said that this is such a frequent occurrence. So I hope you've already left your comments about what you think. That this is such a frequent occurrence that they are returning rental cars 2 or 3 times in a month.
Yeah.
That this is just a really common occurrence.
The cars are pretty beat up here.
Yeah.
There's no real rules on the road. Most cars you can see epoxy all over them.
Broken windows, the entire back. What is that? The back windshield.
Yeah, well, the taxis I've driven, I remember the taxi from the airport, the shocks were just shot. And I was like, what a crappy taxi, but I think it's pretty normal.
Just right here, we'll sort through them.
So big takeaway is I think if we had to do it over again, we would pay the extra money for a more big name rental company.
Well, hold on. What we got to say first is that we did not go with a rental car company because when we first rented out the cars, we were quoted one price online. So either $250 or we got one for $2, we got one for $450. And then they wanted to charge another $1,000 for insurance. And we were like, that is absurd. No way. And we have a rule of thumb that we never pay for insurance because we don't get in accidents and we don't have flats and we don't have issues. And in all of our years, we've just never needed it. So why pay for it?
So this kind of put the scare into us that I think we're going to have to start from this point over shelling out for insurance.
At least in Latin American countries for sure.
I think
foreign
in
countries.
the U.S., your insurance covers you just fine. Here,
many people also have credit cards that cover them, but that only is covered to an extent. If you have a country like Panama that doesn't offer night roadside assistance or doesn't offer roadside assistance, then you need a rental car company that's going to come out to you, that's going to find you, that's going to assist you, that's going to get you to where you need.
So I think the biggest thing here is if we'd shell out the money for the extra insurance, they would have just given us a new car. I wouldn't have had to go fix the rental car off my own dime because
nobody will get back to us.
Yes. So luckily I was able to go find means to go get it repaired myself. So learn a little bit of Spanish too. It helps in these foreign countries. Google Translate is pretty fantastic too. So our big ticket item, I think going forward, we are going to pay more attention to insurance.
Yeah.
It could have been a lot worse, this experience. We got pretty lucky. And so we're going to take that win. We're going to call it a win, even though it doesn't feel like it. And we're saying it didn't feel like it 2 days ago.
Well, and one thing we neglected to mention was the total ordeal was 5 hours long.
Yeah.
5 hours with 6 people in a car, 4 of them being children on the side of a road. Right as soon as the second that we got the car fixed, we were, like I said, in a big field, and there was a big, huge semi-truck that was starting his engine, and he was getting ready to go. And I'm not sure that he would have even seen our pathetic little car compared to the size of his vehicle next to us, and he would have smashed us to smithereens.
And I don't know what it means. Panama is supposed to be the safest Latin American country, but Fatima, when they left to go get the tire, they even said, make sure you stay in your car and lock the doors. I was like, what?
In their defense, we would have done the same thing in the States.
In some part of the States, especially some areas, maybe they're so.
Yeah.
I asked them when they came back if it was peligroso, which is it dangerous? Like you asked us to lock the tires. And they kind of talked for a minute and then said, no. Well, and I think part of the problem, they say, I think there are opportunities for people not to see you or hit a pothole and actually hit you with the car.
Yeah.
So what we notice, I'm kind of going off on a tangent here, is we don't want to drive at night very much here. What we notice if you're looking at Google Maps when you're trying to go to a place, car accidents start popping up.
Yeah. Panama's not nearly as bad as Costa Rica was, but it's pretty darn
Yeah,
close.
yeah. So you start getting rerouted to weird roads because so many accidents are occurring at night. Probably because of the potholes. Probably because of drinking. I don't know. There's a lot of interesting things that we'll talk about later. So that's our experience.
So we have been
yeah.
researching some car insurance companies. So this is separate. This is insurance that would cover you regardless of the car that you were going with, regardless of who you were renting the car from, regardless of how long you were renting it, and regardless of who you have insurance with. But we will link to those below, and we'll let you know who we would recommend just through our foray in this situation, and who we would use in the future. So take a look at those down below, and take a look at our blog. We'll include a link to that too. That just kind of explains a little bit more in detail about what happened and some of our lessons learned.
Don't get stranded in a foreign country in the middle of the night, especially with your precious little family.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go ahead and say here, get insurance. I never would have said that weeks ago. I would have been saying it's like a snake oil thing, but maybe there's something to it.
Yeah, and it's actually not. It's I think the car insurance. This is different. This is renter's insurance. This isn't car insurance. The car insurance, and I'm not even really sure what that entails. It's liability only when you go through a car insurance company, and it's for the vehicle. This is for what happens to you and the vehicle together, and it does include roadside assistance. This is the big thing that we're looking for when we're looking for a renter's insurance, is does it cover roadside assistance, and does it cover accidents that are necessarily bumper to bumper accidents, and this company does. That's exactly what they cover. So
check it out and
save yourself the hassle, so save yourself the grief, and save your children climbing all over you and the car and crying about food for 5 hours, because every parent watching this knows what happens when you have children who don't get food for 5 hours.
Yeah, stay safe. Traveling is safe, but you want to make sure that you're taken care of.
Yeah.
Very important.
And let's just talk for 2 minutes. What would we have done had we not had Fatima and Daniel, or not contacted a bishop? If you're a part of a church or an organization.
So honestly, I think it got to the point where our only choice was to probably repark the car a little bit safer and just head home for the night.
Yeah.
The guy, he even was like, "Where's the car now?" It's like, well, we got it home, luckily, because we had friends.
It never occurred to us to just leave it on the side of the road.
No, because even though we were renting it from the homeowner, we have a responsibility to keep that car safe.
Right. We were trying to be we wanted to be respectful. It's kind of.
So I think it got to the point though where you have to look after your family's safety first, and I think it got to the point where after 5 hours, we would have just taken an Uber and gotten the family home safely.
Yeah.
And then tried to wake up early and take care of it.
Yeah.
And hope that the car was okay.
Yeah.
Not like on cinder blocks or something.
Or gone. I mean, good. So.
Stay safe.
All right.
Thanks for watching.
Next week we will talk all about that volcano. We'll also be talking about meeting Santa Claus in Panama. We're going to talk about finding a nativity set in Panama, which is one of the biggest Christmas traditions that they celebrate here. And of course, it was really important to us to have a traditional Panamanian Christmas. And then we'll talk about our dinner at Daniel and Fatima's favorite recommended restaurant. So,
it'll be awesome.
A few fun things for you to look forward to. We are going to do our best to have it published on Tuesday. And it'll be just a couple days before Christmas. So, Feliz Navidad. Christmas at the beach.
Yep.
Thank you so much for watching. Hit subscribe and let us know about all of our questions in the comments.
Bye-bye.